Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the UnLearnT podcast. Oh, yo, we are having a day, guys. I am your host, Ruth Abigail, aka RA,
What's up, friends? It's your girl, Jaquita.
and this is the podcast that is helping you gain the courage to change your mind so that you, yes, you, can experience more freedom.
My Lord. Okay, listen. We've been doing a lot of preparation to get y'all these episodes, and I want to let you know this level up series, I knew from the very first episode. I said this is gonna take me through some changes right here. Okay, this is gonna take me through some changes because any I have learned, as a minister now of a whopping almost 7 years, which
Mm,
is
mm.
crazy. That is
Wow.
crazy.
Wow.
Right. But I've learned that anything you preach, it's gonna be required of you. Okay. You're gonna have to live that thing on out. But I've been really grateful because it's given me so much material, right, to process my own experiences. So listen, as y'all are leveling up, we leveling up. Okay, the
It's the
podcast
truth.
is leveling up.
It's the
All
truth.
right. It's levels to this.
It is. And
Okay.
I will echo what Quita said. I definitely have been tried and tested in my own way for the leveling up, which has not felt great.
No.
It's been a like realization of I talk really well about these things, but putting them into action is a little slower than I thought it was. If I'm
Listen.
just being honest, like it's like, dang, like I'm really these concepts are I'm 10 toes down on them. I believe in them, man, but
Yeah.
I do not do them as much as it sounds like I might. like, and it's not that I'm not trying to. I just, you have to just and Jaquita has helped me realize, hey, there's some things you need to level up on. I was like, man, that's true. I do.
Listen. And Ruth Abigail has been telling me I need to level up our entire friendship. So,
Well,
hey.
that's what I'm here for.
Literally, guys, I know I really mean that. Like our entire friendship. She's like, you could be better. You
What?
could do more. You could go further. It's the nature of us,
Yeah,
it's the
it
nature of
is.
us.
It is.
But I think we have spent a good amount of time talking about everything that happens before the move. And we got to investigate what happens after you get the thing that you interviewed for, that you prayed for, that you negotiated for, and now you're in it.
Yeah.
Right. And I've been in that space before where you have leveled up and you get into that new space and you have all these ideas and all these thoughts about what you're going to do, and you start reflecting on everything you said in that interview, that you was going to bop 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 bop, that you was going to come in here and kill the game. Okay, that they needed you, that you was that girl, that you were the answer and the solution to the things. Okay, that everything they presented to you as this is a gap in our organization, you said I've come to fill it. And then you get in that role, and it's some things that we gotta it's some things we gotta deal with. It's some things we gotta overcome. It's some things we gotta develop in, you
and
know?
I want to take this moment as you're talking. It's kind of hitting me in a fresher way that we are using the context of career and work to talk about leveling up. But let's be
Yeah,
honest, like this applies to almost every area, right? So,
absolutely.
and it really clicked when you said, what you've been praying for, you have. And it's
Mm,
like, yeah, because that's a level up. It's like, I've been praying for this, I've been desiring this, and God blesses you with it. And so when you get what you get the blessing you've been praying for, that's like a level up. And that could be, I mean, it could be anything. It could be a new job, it could be a new position, it could be a marriage, it could be kids, it could be friendships, it could be whatever.
yeah.
And it's like this, it could be financial increase, it could be all of that. And
Oh,
it's like
absolutely.
that, like, what does leveling up, so like when you're thinking about this, you may not be in the space of, I feel like I've leveled up in career specifically, but think about this in the context of where your level up is, because it works.
Mm-hmm.
And because as you were talking, I mean, I was thinking, about it was just about getting married, and like
Yeah.
just like all the things we say we're gonna do when we get a spouse. And and,
Listen.
I'm the way that we think of leveling up in our lives. It's like, let's be honest, a lot of us have a hard time seeing a level up without being married, which I don't actually think is true, but that's how a lot of us think, and like we are kind of trained to think. So it's like, all right, my level up is marriage, cool. Well, what do I, now that I'm here, is
Mm-hmm.
it like that is a different, it's like, whoa, I didn't even,
Yeah.
you see differently, you understand differently, there are experiences you could have never prepared for. And
My
so
Lord.
you've got to approach it not like you thought you would in the interview process, because dating is
Ooh.
very different than marriage, but we don't have to go down that road.
Ooh.
um
But it's
we,
a good road.
we don't have to go down that road, like we don't have to land there, but I do want to just give it a different contextual framework so that people understand, like, when we're talking, it applies to whatever area you feel like you're
Yeah.
leveling up in.
No, but I think that's such a good point because I think our whole argument in this level up series is that it's not about the opportunity. You're not leveling up because you got a better opportunity. You're leveling up because you have become a person that can walk in a new space.
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
and there's something, it's so much more about the internal process than it is about the external one,
Yeah.
right? And I think I'm thinking back to one of my last level ups a couple of years ago, when I moved from one institution to a bigger school that was a little bit more engagement focused and had a much more competitive yet political atmosphere. And when I got in that space,
Mm,
I came from, I'm that girl. I make things happen. I'm going boom, boom, bap. And when I got into this new space, everything I had done before got me the opportunity, but it was not going to keep it for me. And I realized you came here with enough to get in the door, but to stay in the door, you are going to have to level up.
1000%.
Like you're going, like there are things in you that have to develop. There are things in you, and it wasn't, and I think one thing that really really has stuck with me as I have continued to allow God to move me in different areas of my life is that we spend a lot of time trying to build a resume,
Mm,
but the things that prepare you for the next level of your life, whether that's in the career field or in your personal life or whatever, the things that really prepare you for that are not the things that get written down on paper.
mm-hmm.
It is not the skill sets that will differentiate you, it's the competencies.
Yes.
It is your ability to be competent in leadership, to be competent in understanding the bigger picture, being able to see beyond yourself and beyond your own perspective, and to be able to step into your leader's shoes and see things, see how they see things, and operate at a different level.
Mm,
Right? That's a competency that doesn't always have a list of skill sets attached to it, right? I mean, it can, but really what we're looking for is, have you developed into a person that can carry this weight? And that's what got you the opportunity. But being a person that can doing it and being a person that does do it, these are different things.
these are very different things, and I like what you said, the competency thing. One way I have seen competency get um get I guess I don't know about misused, but it's not, um it has not worked in their favor. Like, I've seen this idea of, I'm already competent. So what you're talking about, can't get competent in something that you've never been in before. Your
Mm.
competencies exist in a different area. You bring that with you to the new area. And the mistake can be is, I'm competent, what's wrong with them?
Ooh.
And I think a lot of people going, like, who have had the opportunity to level up, are get frustrated because other people don't feel as competent as they do. but you have to give yourself time to develop different competencies in this different area.
That's true. Yes. And I think that you have to, here's the thing, regardless of what that next door is, that next place of opportunity, the only way you develop competencies, like if you are going for, let's say you're moving from a VP role to a president role, or from a director role to an executive director role, the only way that you build the competencies of that next level is if you surrender to that level and allow it to develop you.
Correct.
Right, because it there is a completely different, and I think Ruth Abigail can speak to this, there's a completely different mindset from being a director to being over the whole shebang, right? Being responsible for the whole show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've had experiences where I was on the director level and I was like, me and my team, I'm concerned about my team and I'm holding my team down, right? But institutionally, if I have to be responsible for more and if I'm giving more responsibilities, that's another competency level,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have to become competent at another level. I don't walk in already competent. I
No.
walk in with the potential to be competent. And one thing that I've always taught is that you don't grow in potential without good mentorship and coaching,
Mm-hmm.
because mentors are the people who recognize potential.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times we get it mixed up. We get it mixed up because there is such a difference between a sponsor and a mentor.
Mm.
A sponsor is someone who opens the door for you. They don't develop you to be able to stay in that door. They say, "Hey, it looks like you got enough going on for you that I can use what I have to give you this opportunity." Right? But sponsors don't always develop.
Mm-hmm.
Sponsors don't always coach.
Mm.
Usually they don't.
Yeah.
Usually they're on to the next thing that they gotta open the door for. Because that's where their mind is. Their mind is set on I open doors. Mentors and people who are intimately invested in your development and your growth, they are going to be the ones who will walk with you through an opportunity. And I guarantee you that wherever you go next, you are going to need somebody who has been where you've been or who understands where you are at, who can talk to you on that level, because
Mm.
something new has to get pulled out of you in order to be great at this thing. You don't get most times we don't walk in great. And that was the misperception I had at that last job. I
Man.
was like, oh child, I'm that girl. Y'all hired me. I'm about to come in and change the game. And I got in and I realized the game was bigger than my last game.
Man.
I moved from checkers to chess.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute. So we
Yeah.
don't just hop over? Every piece does something different?
That's
What
good,
what you
Quita.
mean? This board is, I thought this was checkers. This ain't checkers. Okay. I need to build a new competency, because in checkers, you got the red and you got the black. That's it. It's
Yep.
it's 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 a dual mode game. Red
Mm-hmm.
and black. I'm trying to get red to one side, black to the other side. That's all we trying to do. But in checkers, it's a completely, if you take the pieces off the board can look the same, right? Because it's a two colored board with blocks. But when you add in the pieces and
Mm-hmm.
everything does something different, we have identified our metaphor
There it
today,
is.
right? And everything does something different. I have to learn the intricacies of the pieces and the parts and what everything does on this board
Yeah.
in order to learn how to play this game. And I can't come into a checkers game acting like I'm a hey, yeah, I'm just gonna move my one piece over here. And they're like, no, that piece don't do that.
It don't do that.
It
And you
don't do
can't
that.
you can't even do that.
Yeah,
Put it back.
that's not how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that it is important, as you are moving into these new seasons of your life, that you don't go in thinking, I got this game. I
Mm-hmm.
understand this game. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's important that you don't approach your new leadership like that, because you're going to set false expectations of what you're going to be able to deliver in the beginning. You're not going to come in guns blazing. So it's much better to present a developmental plan than I'm gonna come in and boom 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 back. Here these are going to be my deliverables.
Yeah.
And then they be like, all right, we're going to check them numbers at the end. you know versus if you say, hey, this is the plan that I have to grow this thing substantially over an amount of time, realizing that I'm coming in learning and growing as well.
You know, again, not I just because this is a phrase I think I've heard and we've all heard before. Going back to the marriage analogy, like it's like, hey, learn to be a wife before you become a wife. That
Talk to us
kind
about
of
that.
mentality. Well, I'm here to debunk that
Oh
because
yeah, no, I was hoping so.
yeah, because that is not that is bad advice, and it's bad expectations, and I think it goes what you're saying, like be a director before you get there, be an executive before you get like show like it's like
Mm,
you can't. I don't know how to do that, but we're encouraged to behave like something that we don't understand before we
mm-hmm.
get there, and then we have false expectations of ourselves when you get into the position,
Yeah.
thinking that I'm ready for something that I'm not ready for. So I mean I love what you said about come in with a developmental expectation, like, and be
Yes.
ready to develop, as opposed to trying to work on do getting there before you get there.
Yeah.
It's because you don't know enough, and I think the checker and the chess is so beautiful, because on the without the pieces on the board and without the rules of the game, it looks the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when you start adding adding the pieces, reading the rules, no, we're in a totally different game. And and I think that we've got to allow people, for those of us who are inviting people into this new level that we may
Mm-hmm.
have been to. We need to also encourage them on the developmental side more than
Mm-hmm.
the deliverable side.
Yeah.
Also, I think that people, if you are that person that's leveling up, I think it's best to be honest with yourself, and to what Quita was saying. um I- you've got to be prepared to do more learning than doing in the early
Listen.
stages. You've got to be
Absolutely.
prepared for that, like,
You
and not
yes.
thinking that you're not progressing, or that you're not delivering if you're focused on learning. You have to learn the culture, you have to learn the nature of the role, you have to learn the people, you have to learn the environment, you have to learn about all this stuff, to learn what's going on. You got to learn the history. You got
Yeah.
you got to learn all of that in order to be effective on some level, and learning usually takes longer than you think. And so,
And
you know,
can I add, you gotta learn you, because again, I think we have to be clear that as you move from one level to the next, you are carrying you into a space that will ultimately bring out something new in you.
mhm,
Right? We talked about the Johari window.
Jahari window.
I be wanting to say Jabari, but gospel singer. But anyways, the Jahari window, and where we talked about how you have the known self, you have the blind self, you have the hidden self, and then you have I guess, the unknown
Unknown.
self.
Mhm.
Yeah, the unknown self. Well, what's going to happen is when you get to that next level, you are going to have new people, new connections, and what was once unknown is now moving up to the blind spot.
Yeah,
Right, like it's moving up to where other people can see what was once unknown to you, and they're going to start calling it out. Or the situations you're going to find yourself in are going to start calling out things in you that you didn't know was there.
absolutely.
It's going to When I was not prepared for the level of insecurity I felt
Mm,
when I got to that new space, because it was bigger and the challenge was greater. And I went from being in a space where I was that girl and I really stood out as, man, Jaquita killing the game, to getting to a space where everybody was that girl or that guy, and everybody had the same mindset and skill set that I had, but I was a leader. And
mhm,
I'm working with people who are right out of their master's programs,
mm,
who are in their mid 20s, right? And they're zooming,
mm,
right? And I'm having to say, okay, And I'm looking at the other leaders who have been there for a while, and I'm like, they are established in this thing. They know who they are and they know why they're here. I'm coming in, and not only am I having to build my competencies as a leader at this level, I'm also having to redefine for myself and for everyone in this organization who I am and what I
Mm,
bring to the team that is unique but necessary.
yeah.
Right? We said last episode rare and valuable. I'm taking that with me forever. Right? But it took me a minute because I had to make sure I wasn't building something that I saw, because that's the easiest thing to do. The easiest thing to do is be like, "Oh, well, Suzanne is really good at this and everybody really likes her for that. I'm just going to be more like Suzanne." Right? We're not at that point in our leadership. This is not the copy and paste, right? You were hired, you were giving the opportunity because you had a potential to fill in a gap in that organization.
Mm-hmm.
You don't fill in the gap through imitation. The
No,
gap has to be filled with not who you are, but who you are to become.
that's right.
And that is what I didn't realize, was that I was going in order, because the gap of that organization was bigger than the gap I left. Right. And so, in order to fill this new gap, I had to become more. Right. I had to grow in leadership. I had to grow in my ability to coach, mentor, and develop. And that was the thing that set me apart in that organization. If you want to grow in your leadership, if you want to become the next version of yourself, you go to Jaquita.
Mm,
If you want somebody who's going to encourage you and tell you and read you from top to bottom and say this is exactly what you need to do to get to your next level, you go to Jaquita.
yeah.
Right. And so it got to the point where people who were not on my team recognized that I was a developer. Right. But I didn't know that about myself, not
Mm-hmm.
to that level. Right. And so now I'm already thinking, as I think about new levels and new opportunities, what am I going to have to become to fill the gap that this opportunity requires?
Yeah.
And you have to believe that whatever that opportunity is requiring of you, it is something that is in your unknown self that God will bring to the surface, because it's something he's already planted on the inside of you. Because I think we've kind of spun this off that everything in the blind self and the unknown self is negative, right? But really, there's some gifts, there's some talents,
Oh yeah.
there's some competencies that are there that just have to be brought to the forefront.
Yeah.
It's just, the tares grow with the wheat. So baby, you're gonna see the good and the bad at the same time. You're gonna be like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. And also, wow, I ain't know I had all this crap sitting in my dirt.
Um. Yeah. I think. I wanna add. You don't fill the gap with imitation. You also don't fill the gap with repetition.
Talk about
Meaning
it.
you don't fill the gap with doing what you already know to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
taking what you already know and inserting it into your new situation. I was that was my mistake, and I did that when I got into this role, and I operated the way I operated in the last role, and it was unsuccessful, um, and very ineffective. And it's really interesting because the other thing I learned is this is what you have to understand. You also, going back to learning, like part of learning is also observing. And
Yeah.
so I did not properly observe the big because I thought I knew. I've been a part of it. I helped to build it. But I had never been in the culture, and I did not properly observe the culture or take it in. Um, Not for criticism, because I did that. I observed it in order to critique it, but I didn't observe
Mm-hmm.
it in order to understand it.
That's good.
And that was
Oh,
my
that's
problem.
good.
And so I observed it, I critiqued it, and then I brought in what I knew.
Write that down.
You know what I'm saying? I observed it, I critiqued it, and then I brought in what I knew. And that was a
Mm-hmm.
recipe for disaster. And
My Lord.
so it took me about 3 years to overcome that. Um
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of things in between, and so I think like that helped, that go looking back at that, it was like, okay, anytime there is a next level, number one, I've gotta have an ear for other people,
Mhm.
to tell me where my blind spot is. So I
Yeah.
mentioned one of my team members, I think on the last episode, and she's the one that really gives me what I need to hear, even though I don't want to hear
Yeah.
it. And so one thing that she pointed out to me, and this wasn't immediate, she was a part of the team when I first got there. She left and then she came back. And
Mhm.
so when she, especially like in the beginning of her coming back, she noticed some things and she was like, the way you led our team when I came is actually the way you need to lead this team now. You didn't need to lead
Mhm.
our team the way you led us. It was too, I was too hands-on with them and I didn't need to be.
Mm.
Versus then it was like I heard that from them and I said, okay, well, I don't need to be hands-on. But then the next team that came on actually needed me to be more hands-on and I wasn't. And
Wow.
things got out of control. And then it's like, okay, well, what happened? And she was like, because you're not paying attention to the people you have around you. You're not paying attention to that. Like you can't. So my observation, my eye was not. I was, again, I wasn't there to understand. I was really just there to eat to critique whether it's myself or what was going on, and then to just keep moving. And I needed to take time to understand. And so I think like that is such a critical part of your next level is when you're observing as you're learning this new environment, this new culture, this new role, this new place, you need to observe to understand, like,
Mm.
and take it in whether you agree with it or not, like understand it, because I can almost guarantee you not everything deserves to be changed immediately.
Yes.
Everything's not bad. uh
Everything's not bad, and if you go in, you have to balance your ideas and visions with the well-being of your people. And if you go in
yeah.
slicing and dicing, what is that going to do to team morale?
Hmm.
What is that going to do to the integrity of the institution that was there before you got there?
That's correct.
Right? Don't come in telling me everything we did was wrong.
That's
Excuse
right.
you.
That's right.
What First of all, we existed before you.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
And so you have to respect what's there. You have to respect
You
what's
do.
there.
You do.
Because you have to you're also, as a new leader, or as a new person being added to the game, right? You are having to gain the trust, the respect of everybody else who's been on the board. Like, baby, we've been doing this. And we know the game. You just got introduced to the game.
Yeah.
And so it's going, you know how people say, like, you need to go in, you need to respect your elders, and you need to talk to people and get the wisdom from the people who've been in the game. Don't discount anybody.
No.
Don't discount anyone. Have conversations with everyone, because everyone has the potential to give you a valuable piece of advice. I was watching,
Mm.
I think it was just an Instagram reel, but the lady was talking about how she was up for a promotion, and she was trying to figure out if she got the promotion or not. And she was the type of person who spoke to everyone in the building and who built relationships with everyone in the building. And so she was, one night she was talking to the custodian, and she was like, man, I think I just need to just send my boss an email to see if I got this next opportunity or not, because I need to know. He's spending all this time, and he keeping me on the line, and I need to know. And the custodian said, girl, don't worry about it. When I was cleaning his office, I already saw your name on the list. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Listen. Okay, everybody, anybody in that organization could have your key to how to play the game.
That's right. That's
And
it,
you
man.
can't discount anyone. And also, at any organization you work, make friends with anybody who keeps a building.
Man.
Okay.
Or an
Okay,
office.
you are the
Oh,
office.
man.
Our administrative assistant,
Man.
what you
That's
said,
it.
most
Them
MVPs
them the
right
people,
there.
boy. Them it.
Them the
Yep.
people.
That's it.
Okay. If you can make them smile. Okay. I remember we were running interviews one time, and there was this one person, I did not want to hire him. And unfortunately, he did not get a position. But when I tell you, the administrative assistant came to me and fought for him,
Mm.
she was like, I was so pleased that he came in and spoke to me and didn't just speak and say hello, had a conversation with me about what I do and how much value I add to the team. And
Wow.
she wrote me a whole email and she was
Wow.
like, I really hope you consider him for the role. Now, again, I did not, but he got an endorsement.
Yeah. That's
And
huge.
you gonna need you need those endorsements from everywhere you can get it. And if you new to the team, you need as much buy-in as possible, because I guarantee you
Oof.
there are people on the board who will happily play along with you. I told y'all we weren't gonna let this metaphor go.
Mm-mm.
Okay, just welcome to the chess game. Okay, right. There are people on the board who will happily play along with you and who will show you the ropes. And then there are people on the board who actually are trying to kick you out the game. They
Can,
want you out.
can I? All right. I'd like to introduce a concept that we did not actually we didn't talk about this, so this is going to be new to everybody. To you, Quita. We didn't
That's
talk
all
about
right.
this, but it's coming to my mind, and this has what the concept about I'm about to um briefly explain has nothing to do necessarily what we're talking about. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not built from this. It's built from the world of like organizing and kind of political thinking, but
Interesting.
it works. So what we're talking about, what Quita was saying is like get to know everybody. Everybody's on the board. Different people have different pieces. Different people have different motivations, and different people have different desires for you as far as the outcome. What that's called kind of in the organizing world when you're trying to basically make a decision maker push a decision maker towards a certain decision that you believe that he or she should be making.
Mm-hmm.
um, it's called a power analysis. So you think about a power analysis is essentially saying who is this, like I have people who are my allies, I have people who are my enemies,
Mm-hmm.
and I have people who have high influence and low influence, right?
Ooh, yeah.
So the sweet spot that everybody wants is an ally with high influence.
Yeah.
But the question is, how do you get there? And so a lot of times people assume people that have positions are immediately high you can immediately get there, but that's not always true. First of all, decision makers have relationships with other people. You don't often get to the decision maker first. So what's the pathway to the decision maker? What's the pathway to the person who's going to make this experience for you the way you need it to be? And oftentimes, the people that are part of that pathway are the people you do not expect to be. And so I think that's kind of what we're saying. You know, people who work in the buildings, people who are administrative assistants, people who
Mm-hmm.
are leaders of a committee or on a committee. They don't even have to have a board member or another a coworker of yours who has a long-standing relationship with the decision maker for
Yeah.
whatever reason, right? So there's different ways to look at it, but that is again this observation piece is so critical because you need to understand, okay, cool, I've been observing for a while. I think that my the leveling up the leveling up I've been doing over the last few months are is I see an importance to tweak this. Let's say that you think we need a culture shift in this area. All right. Now the question is, how do I do that? Well, I don't have the credibility always to do it immediately and to do it well. What are some decisions I don't necessarily I know I can't make? I need to give so and so a raise. I think
Mm-hmm.
they deserve more. I see it in them and they want more, and they've told me they felt safe with me and comfortable to say, "Hey, I really need to get more here. I want to be here, but I haven't been able to really." Okay, cool. I don't have the authority to do that. So who does? So you have to ask yourself who has it, and then what's the pathway to get them to do that decision. When
Yeah.
if you have not been observing and you do not know how people relate to each other and who are the people that you can get to,
That's good.
and if you can't get to the decision maker, I can get to a person who knows that. If you don't know that, you'll
Yeah.
let this person down and you'll end up um like that the deliverable, especially of being a great team leader who is advocating for your team, is not going you're not going to be able to deliver on that because you're not the ultimate decision maker. Does that make sense? Like
No, that
so
makes perfect sense.
so this power analysis concept, I think, is very
Mm.
important wherever you are, to understand who's your who. And it's like, there's another saying in this world: no permanent friends, no permanent enemies. It's really just, we're just working towards the same goal. So for this thing, you may not be my person, but for this thing you are. Right? For this thing you may agree
Mhm.
with me, for this thing you might disagree. And that's okay. You don't put people in one box. You do it according to what you need to make move. Right?
I love
That
that
makes sense.
because no, that makes perfect sense because I think it goes back to you got to know who's on the board.
You
You
gotta
got to
know
know who's on the board and you got to know how
what
they
kind of
believe
power
one
they
another.
have.
Yeah, what kind of power they got? Like, listen, okay, I know that this rook, they can only move one spot at a time, but they're always close to the other players, right? Like they can slide up right next to you, like, hey, what's going on? So, like, somebody might look small, but their
Mm,
impact is great. They might
mm-hmm.
not have a lot of influence, but they got a lot of impact,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you have to know, you have to know who, and there's so many things that are not on the org chart,
Oh man.
right? There's so many things. Let me tell you something. Now I love to see me a good org chart because I can discern a lot of things based off of how an organization is structured, right? But there are so many. You got the rule book and then you got the house rules, right? We all love Uno, right? Nobody's playing Uno according to that rule book.
No.
Throw that out. Okay.
No.
First of all, I absolutely can put a draw four on top of a draw four.
See what I'm
You
saying?
throw down a draw four or a draw two, you have initiated war. I declare war, is what you have said. Sorry, sensitive times, right?
Ah!
Ruth, you weren't supposed to laugh
I'm
at that.
sorry.
You're supposed to let me slide on by
Oh
it.
no, I'm so sorry.
All right. But no, but seriously, like, like we got, they got the rules in the rule book, and then they have the things that we're actually doing, right?
Yes.
They have the things that they have the rules that we're actually following, right? And you're going to come in, and what they're going to present to you on your first day and in your orientation is the rule book. They're going to say, hey, here's how we as an organization operate, right? And if you just learn this policy and procedures, you'll be fine, right? But there's a whole cultural house rules book. Okay, there's a whole way that we actually operate.
Correct.
Yes, it says in the job description that Johnny does this, but actually, if we let Johnny do it, we would fail.
That's
So
it.
actually, Sandra and Joanne do it. Okay, and Johnny does something else instead, right? Like, yes, the boss is the person who makes decisions, but he can't make decisions without his admin
Yep.
because she knows his entire calendar, right? Recently, I'm not going to use that example, but let's just say, okay, like there have been times when I have bosses who, again, have a lot more influence and impact, and I put them on the calendar for things, and their admin goes, okay, what are they doing? And I need to communicate to them why they're on this calendar and why they're on this meeting. And we need to give them some clarity. Like, the admins run the show.
They run
You
it.
get what I'm saying? These big time bosses, they not doing it without them.
They're not.
Matter of fact, don't even schedule a meeting with me without my admin. My admin gonna be in the background taking notes. Be like, hey, listen, we got everybody knows, if you know me, you know who my favorite person is. What's her name, Ruth Abigail? Her name is Pam Green, and that's a
Yes.
shame.
There you go.
That is a shame.
Yeah.
Pam Green, to this
Shout out to
day,
Pam. Shout out to
to this
Pam.
day, is one of my favorite people in the world because Pam was my admin for almost 3 years, and she was my administrative coordinator. And when I tell you that woman, it could bring a tear to my eye how much I love me some Pam, right? Because being able to anticipate needs, and then not only anticipating my needs, but the ability to communicate to everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
my needs and what we're doing as an organization. And that's what you need. You need to get connected to the people who keep the other people straight.
You do.
You need to find out Okay, I know you big dog, but who's actually who's your Ben and your her?
Mhm.
Right? You Moses, but I need Aaron. Did I say
Mhm.
Ben? Who is Ben?
You
Your
did. I'm not
Aaron
sure.
and your her.
It's okay. I was gonna let it go.
No, don't let that go.
I don't know who
Okay,
that is.
I strive for biblical accuracy.
Yeah.
All right, but you need to know the Aaron and her. You need to
You
know
gotta
Miriam.
explain that. You need to explain that. I don't think people
Okay,
understand.
so there's a biblical account. The children of Israel were still in the wilderness, but they were at war. They had gotten to a little debacle, right? And God had promised them the victory, but they started noticing that they only were winning when Moses' hands were raised, right? And so Moses stood on top of a mountain and he was trying to keep his hands raised. But if you've ever raised your hands for a long period of time, your arms is heavy. Okay, something about mom spaghetti.
Knees
Okay,
weak, my
these weak.
spaghetti. Yeah.
Yes, so like and so when they started noticing, hey, if Moses' hands don't stay up in the air, we lose. So then there were two leaders, Aaron, who was his brother, and her, who was another leader in the camp, said, hey, you get one arm, I'm gonna get the other. And we gonna hold this man's arms up so we can win this battle. You need to know you don't just need to get close to Moses. And that's the problem. We all spend time trying to get close to Moses when really you need to get acquainted with Aaron and her. You need to
Yeah.
get acquainted with the people who are helping to uphold the organization.
Yeah.
They are the ones guaranteeing the win. Moses cannot do it on his own.
That's right.
Moses is going to wear himself out. It is impossible to keep your arms up during an entire battle, right? You have to have people around you. And as a leader, you need to identify who those people are. Who
For
those
you.
people that are going to be your Aaron and
That's
her.
yeah.
You need to be able to assess your team and everyone that is connected to your new role, your new opportunity, even as a wife or as a husband, as somebody who's entering into a new marriage or a new opportunity or just a new place in your life. You need to know who are the people that are called to help me carry this,
Mhm.
right? Who are my confidants, right? Who are the people that you know how close you had to be? They was right up under the
Mhm.
arm.
Mhm.
Okay. They they
Mhm.
they they knew everything Moses had going on. Right,
Yeah.
they was all up in his space. Moses had been up there for hours. Okay, it
Moses
wasn't.
was probably musty, and we got to
I
be
was
honest
trying not to
about
say
that.
it.
We got to be honest about it. And sometimes
What is
folk
wrong
will
with
be up
you?
in your must, and you need to be okay with that.
Okay, Ruth Abigail.
I just
Okay,
need to
all
point it
right.
out.
You just called Moses musty.
Hey, we probably
Okay.
was. Let's just be real.
But you need to know who are the people that I can have walk close to me in this journey. You need to be able to discern that.
Hmm.
You need to know who can I carry up the mountain with me. Right? Everybody couldn't when the Lord called Moses and said, Moses, come. I want to talk to you face to face. Everybody couldn't go. Joshua went though, because Joshua was called to walk in that way with Moses. Right. And lo and behold, Joshua needed something. He needed to see some of that glory because he was gonna have to carry it next.
Yeah.
Right. But you have to know. And let me tell you something. You may not have to do this right in the beginning, but you are going to have to identify your next in the people that are following you,
Hmm.
because that is going to determine how you pour. And I'm not saying the next person who's going to take your spot,
Hmm.
but I'm talking about the next person who's going to level up.
I
You need to be aware, because you're not an entry level employee anymore, right? And you are not in competition with these people. Do not go in here with this mindset that you got something to prove, or that you got to hold people back or hold people down so that you can look good. Do not. uh, those make the worst leaders.
yeah.
Those make the people that are not invested in somebody else winning. Those are the leaders that nobody trusts.
Yeah.
I can't
That's
trust
facts.
you because you're not invested in my success.
That's
You
facts.
might be invested in your success. You might be invested in the success of the organization because it makes you look good, but you would throw me under the bus in order to get there.
So let's really lean into that, because when you get into this leveling up, I think that is a mindset that we have to learn to kill pretty quickly, is that I'm still fighting for what I just got.
Mhm.
Right? Like I
Yeah.
got it. I don't need to keep fighting for it. It's yours. So you're not in competition. You're not in a battle. Like you're where you need to be. And you one of the things, like a leader, a leader has to understand, one of your primary actions is to care for the people around you.
Yeah.
If look, and I think this is something we have to, because I like, again, a lot of us that level up, you have, there are things that you've done in the past, again, that you think I need to repeat doing. And most of the time when you level up to in a lot of ways, there are things, people become more important than tasks. And
Mhm.
so I think that as a leader, we can get so caught up in the task, because that's how we feel like people are measuring us against task and deliverable, task and deliverable, task and deliverable. And that might be true. But the question is, who's doing the task? And it's not always you. It's not always going to be you, even though it used to be you. And the best way to make sure that the deliverables are met beyond expectation is to care for the people who are doing the tasks. Make sure they have what they need. Make sure you stay out of their way. Make sure you
Mhm.
give them resources that they ask for. Make sure you pay attention to them. Make, like, those are things that it matters. And I'm saying this as somebody who has dropped that ball more times than I could count. I doubt that is, Jaquita is much better at that than me, but I understand the value of it, and I do my best. If
Mm.
anybody that is on my team, if they're listening to this, they're probably shaking their head, right, like you need to listen to yourself. I do, and but I try to do better. It's not natural for me. I am a get it done, task oriented person, more so than a people carer for person. Um,
Mhm.
it's not my strength, but I've learned that that's not something that you get to compromise. At the end of the day, you've got, that is probably one of your number one responsibilities, is care for your folks, care for the people
Listen.
who are doing the work that you used to do, because you
Yeah.
used to do it. Don't try to outdo them at what they doing.
Listen.
Care
I,
for them.
yeah, you really should want them to do better at what you
Absolutely.
used to do. Like the people who got the spots I used to have, I'm like, hey, kill it. I'm gonna give you everything you need because your legacy is part of my legacy. If
Hmm.
I was there and I killed it and I help you to sustain that, then hey, we're keeping up the legacy. Okay, this is listen, and I want you to grow. I want you to continue to move forward. Back to our game board metaphor, if you would travel with me back to the checkers chess duality, right? When you look at a checkers board, the pieces are flat. You
Hmm.
can play on a one-dimensional level, right? And so you don't have to know everything about the checker piece because you got what, 12, 16 of the same pieces, right? They all look the same, right? And your only goal is to get them to the other side, king them so you can do more with them. But you don't have to actually get to know as much information about, there's 64 squares on the checker board. Producer Joy just gave us that bit of information, right? But you don't have to actually get to know much about the checkers piece besides the color and the side we got to get you to, right? Without you getting taken off the board, right? But when you are in a chess game, every piece has a distinct ability, characteristic, personality, disposition, levels of influence, levels of impact. And you also have some pieces that you're trying to, that can win you the game, and some pieces that can easily lose the game for you. And you have to learn all of that. And we have to, the deeper you go in leadership, the more you have to stop thinking in a two-dimensional fashion.
Hmm. Hmm.
You have to keep thinking in a, this is more than what it appears to be on the surface,
Hmm.
right? This is more than what This is more than what I thought I was looking at when I was looking at the org chart and when they handed me the policy and procedures and they took me through that little orientation, right? What I'm actually doing, what I'm actually responsible for is the development of all these pieces and the prioritization of who they are and what they're called to do in this space.
Yep.
I'm responsible for creating space for you to flourish.
Yep.
That means that I have to be well aware of who you are, what you can do, and how you maneuver on the board and what your purpose is. I have to know that because it's my job to create the game plan for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's my job to say, hey, based off of everything I know, this is how we're going to move as an organization so that all the pieces can move without butting up against one another. Right? And that is the beauty and the challenge of growing deeper in your leadership is that you have to become more aware of who people actually are, what they actually need, what the goals and missions of your organization actually are, and what that actually requires. Because there is what we put on the website and there's what the work actually looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Like I work with currently I work with graduate students, right? And there's a lot of presuppositions, our biases, our thoughts that we may have about what graduate education looks like. But the truth of the matter is every graduate student that I've had a conversation with looks entirely different.
Mm-hmm.
They're all in different programs. The people in the math PhD are having a completely different experience than the people in the educational leadership PhD, which is what I'm in. You're right. I can resonate to a certain degree with math, but then I'd be like, hey girl, I'm so sorry. That ain't my I ain't
Yeah.
having to go through all that. Right. But I have to be mindful that everybody's having a different experience. I have people who are married with 5 kids getting doctorate. I'm a single woman with one job, getting one degree, right? I'm having a completely different lived experience,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And it's important that I don't take my experience and try to thrust it onto somebody else.
Absolutely.
And I think the reason we're talking about this is because these are the mistakes
Yeah.
that leaders tend to make when they get into new spaces,
That's right.
when we get into new spaces and new opportunities. And I love what you said. Do not go into that space acting like you still have to prove that you're not fighting for the opportunity anymore. You got it. Live in it. Live in it. Operate in it. Reside in it. You know what I'm saying? Let it impact and develop you so that you can impact and develop the organization. Right? It and I think as we are moving forward into who we're called to be and what we're called to do, you will realize that there are things that you have to leave behind. And I think we focus a lot on, hey, you can't carry that with you, you can't go into your next with that, but we don't always talk about what you will gain in the process.
Yeah.
And there's so much to gain. There's so much to gain in your learning. There's so much to gain
Mm-hmm.
in the presentation of who you are, how you learn to communicate, and how you learn to share, what God has given you. It just grows and expands. That prayer of Jabez, Lord, enlarge my territory, that prayer, right? That comes with expansion. Your mind has to be expanded. Your competencies have to be expanded. Your mindset has to be expanded. Your heart, your capacity has to be expanded. And we've talked about capacity before. Baby, you have to be able to carry more because you're going to be given more. And the Bible says, and I'll pass the ball, the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that's a
and
scripture that has like haunted me.
and
Like, wait a minute, what?
Spider-Man says,
What?
um, with great power comes great responsibility. I just like to put that out there too. You know what I'm saying? For those of you who might know Spider-Man better than the Bible. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important to give people a way to connect. So
Listen, we'll meet you where you are.
we meet you where
How's
you are.
that?
We got you. We got you. So yeah, I think again, as we're wrapping up, understand and ask yourself, when you've gotten the blessing, we've gotten the thing that you've prayed for, when you've gotten the thing that you've been hoping for, um, when that door opens, let's not be so quick to move and do. Let's be quicker to learn and observe and embrace
That's
what's
good.
there, before we worry about what our impact is. Because that's oftentimes where we do mess up and where things can get chaotic. And so we're here to remind you of that. Slow yourself down, become the person that is ready for that. You don't step into it ready. You need to develop along the way.
Hmm.
Understand that it might take longer than you might want, but it's better to develop and then deploy than to deploy and then have to develop.
My Lord.
Um, and so just understand, like, kind of that mentality can be a little counterintuitive when the process of you getting there feels so urgent, but then when you
Yeah.
get into the door, the urgency really subsides and you need to be in a place of like, okay, now I'm here, let me see what's going on. Let me see
That's
what's going
good.
on. um we hope this has been helpful, guys. We hope that you have enjoyed this. As always, if this has helped you and you think it can help somebody else, share it with a friend. We want to grow the community, and we really just want to be out here, to be of assistance, help people with our own vulnerabilities, and
My Lord.
what we've had to unlearn about all this stuff, because we have, and we continue to do so. Like we were saying in the beginning, man. Like, this series is really uncovering some things in ourselves, and we're having to unlearn things about ourselves every day just by talking to
Actively.
y'all. You know what I'm saying? That's real. And so we appreciate you. We'll see y'all next week. And until then, let's keep unlearning together so that we can experience more freedom.
Yay. Bye, y'all.
Peace.